If I lived in China, I'd have some Chinese children. Well, if I lived in China, I'd have some Chinese children. Yeah, if I lived in China, I'd have some Chinese children. Well, if I lived in China, if I lived in China, Well, out of my ears, my little black baby hears, and that's my fact. Now if I lived in Russia, I'd have some Chinese children. Yeah, if I lived in Prussia, I'd have some Chinese children. Well, if I lived in India, they'd still be Chinese children. And out of my toes, my little blue baby grows, and that's another fact. Now if I lived in Ireland, I'd have some Chinese children. Yeah, if I lived in Ireland, I'd have some Chinese children. Well, if I lived in Spainland, they'd still be Chinese children. And if I lived in Greeceland, they'd still be Chinese children. But out of my thumbs, my little red baby runs, and that's another fact, an unchanging fact.
Women, look at them, they're terrible. I hate them all.
Whatever I do, they're Chinese through and through.
Look at all my MAGAs working in the factories. Oh my goodness, who's here? Ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed. We are lucky. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. He just showed up. I didn't even know he was going to be here. News from the pew. I don't care. We're here every week. John, how are you, buddy?
Doing great, man. It's good to be back with you guys.
Oh, man, it's awesome. It's so awesome to see you here.
They've had people request them off the street, so that's why.
Yeah. They're like, we're tired of these two knuckleheads. Get some intelligence back in this show.
Oh,
Get some highfalutin people talking instead of
we need people that speak English.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, decently. Because the show's just evolved me making fun of him for being South Carolina. So I'm glad that you're here. You can actually clear it up a little bit more. Anyway, we're here. We're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about on today's show. We're happy that you guys are here, and we're here to yeah, that's right. The give, send, go to get John back on the program. He ain't cheap.
We had it up to all $3, I think it was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that was in Mexican pesos. So I mean that's even more.
I thought it was Zimbabwe currency at first.
It was $1 billion bill. So we were in luck there. But if you're here because you like seeing, two people actually call out the rest of Catholic media, well, then you're on the right program, because that's pretty much what we do the entire time. And boy, oh boy, do we have more stuff to call out. And in particular, Trump's tariff war on China. I actually did well because I jumped in. But the Bibi and DJT meetings once again, the Freedom Zone. This thing, I almost lost it when I saw this on Monday. where Trump, I do have glasses. I'll put my glasses on for you because I'm a dancing monkey. I'll do whatever. That's right. Might as well. So the aerodynamic podcast. That's what we call ourselves.
We're sponsored by Rosemary.
Definitely not sponsored by Rogaine. But the fact is, we have this. I don't know if Steve can find this clip, but Trump talked about freedom zone in Gaza, and nobody said a word, because he literally talked about taking the Palestinians and just throwing them other places, which is just legitimate genocide. And nobody said anything because they were too busy licking the boots of Donald Trump. Because if Donald Trump ties his shoes, you're going to get it's like the opposite of Pope Francis. The Pope Francis effect, when if he tied his shoes, we got 400 videos about how that's a violation of one of the 15 encyclicals that are out there. Now, if Trump ties his shoe, we have 400 tweets about how it is the greatest shoe tying ever, and we should be fortunate to have it. We should change our name to the Bald Eagles podcast. That would be fantastic and quite appropriate. But I don't know, Steve. Where do you want to start? Because I'm ready to go on any of this.
The IDF is fighting to get in the Gaza Strip.
You brought it up.
Be called up in a month. Do you think that's the way
I just
to
kinda
pressure
ranted.
Hamas to get to a deal? And do you think blocking humanitarian aid is also an effective pressure?
Well, you know how I feel about the Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate, and I think it's something that we would be involved in. But having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip, would be
Boots on the ground. That's what that means, folks. Your boots, your family, your sons, your daughters in Gaza for Trump's real estate.
a good thing. Because right now, all it is for years and years, all I hear about is killing and Hamas and problems. And if you take the people, the Palestinians, and move them around to different countries, and you have plenty of countries that will do that, and you really have a freedom zone. You call it the freedom zone, a free zone, a zone where people aren't going to be killed every day. That's a hell of a place.
This is nuts. This is absolutely insane. John, I want to get your opinion on this. The fact that, we went from the kind of funny AI where Trump had the AI like, it's going to be beautiful with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk ate 400 things of hummus. Now we're actually starting to talk about, we want to get there. We want to put boots on the ground. We had to support this one country, and we all know what one country it was because he was sitting right next to Trump. John, you've been, what are your thoughts on the entire Gaza thing?
Well, people reveal a lot by the vocab they use. I mean, in a certain sense, I guess we ought to feel sad and sorry for Trump. I mean, the guy cannot help but call a place where people have lived continuously for the last 2,000 years real estate, prime real estate. I mean, the fact that he used that word, that's people's homes. Yeah. I mean, that's where children have been raised and people have farmed and subsisted, for the last 2,000 years, and the place where our Lord trod. I mean, it's just so far out of our manner of viewing reality that he would just dare call it real estate. That right there, I think, sums it up perfectly. The word choice, just that says it all. The choice of words that he made there.
And he also used the word zone, like an economic zone. That's the only way to look at it, because a lot has been made here about the U.S. has been treated like an economic zone for so long with HB1s and all these other kinds of things. They're just using that same kind of vocabulary, as you so correctly said, and they're just applying it there. What about the Palestinian Christians? Yeah, Hamas. They keep saying Hamas. What about the Palestinian Christians? What about the fact that Bethlehem? It's like, are we gonna raise the Bethlehem? Are we gonna raise the Jerusalem, the churches in those places that have our holy sites? We're gonna raise those so we can put up a Tesla dealership, or go ahead.
I'll just say, back in the day, in the early Trump days, when I was pretty enthusiastic about the things he was saying, somebody who was granted, a broken clock is right twice a day. This person was just rambling on about how horrible Trump was in 2014, 15, before he had ever gotten into office, before he had ever been, voted in or made any of these, wholesale commitments to another country other than our own. But with the whole MAGA thing had already come out. And she said, oh, okay, make America great again. What does that even mean? What about Americans? There's people in America. And looking back on it, this lady might not have been right about many other things in the world, but there is kind of this instrumentalization of reality. It's not about the people in America, really. It's about, the almighty Benjamins or whatever else. So that, I don't know. Looking back, I see this lady correctly, I think, reprimanded me, and I wish I had taken her sage advice earlier on and not been a cheerleader for as long as I was. But oh well,
I was too, man. I was too. I mean, I am guilty as well. So you're not the only one in that boat. The only one that wasn't in that boat was the only one and only Steve Cunningham.
That's right.
So, Steve, your thoughts?
Antiwar.com. Trump and Netanyahu reaffirmed their vision for ethnic cleansing in Gaza. And I mean, I don't know if I know I haven't talked to Jonathan about it because he's been busy doing holy things and teaching what the monks up there. So it's not like the most important thing. Hey man, buy in between your land states, see what's going on. So I don't know if you saw the video I put together about a month ago talking about Marian Adelson and all the money, just like bucos, hundreds of millions to pretty much do their bidding of ethnic cleansing. And you're seeing it. The boss came into town Monday, flew in, and he did the whole, I got the, just in case nobody saw it the first time, he did it again. I mean,
you like it there? Here you go.
People, that's the second time that's happened, and people going, is Trump what? You go to the prison, and you're either that or the other, and Trump is that guy. The boss is the guy that's sitting in the chair, making the calls. We're doing all the whole thing with Yemen, the whole thing with Iran, the whole thing. Everything is going to most favored nation. We used to joke about most favored nation. It is sickening what's going on. And I don't want to try to be hyperbolic with that, but I mean, like this thing that happened the other day when he's talking about Trump's tweet right here, the Houthis.
I bombed him good.
Instruction on an attack. Oops, there will be no attack with these Houthis. They will never sink our ships again. And they're standing in this big circle as somebody goes, what group does some kind of, anti-American, terrorist takeover when they're standing a football field away from each other in the middle of the open? It looks like they said something was a tribal thing, and they're applauded. They're just jacked that they just bombed all these innocent people for nothing. And someone brought up and goes, what would they say? Oh, the guy had a gun? Okay.
You mean from South Park? He's coming right for us?
Rick walks around with a gun. Does that mean he's a terrorist? Does that mean how many people? Isn't that what most of these quote unquote conservatives talk about? We want more people with guns walking around the area. But over there, you can't. If you have one, they don't mind dropping a nuke on you. It's real. I mean, the anti-life part of this is, as Jonathan brought up, just talking about like real estate. They don't even care about the people. And here's another one right here from anti-war. Not this one that's going into it, but Israeli attacks killed 58 Palestinians in Gaza over 24 hours. This is April 4th. More than 500 children have been killed by U.S.-backed Israeli strikes on Gaza since March 18th. And I couldn't download this particular video, but one guy from Fox had at least the gumption to speak the truth on this. Because I forget the guy that Judge Knapp has on a lot. He was on today. I should have wrote his name down. But he was talking about the conversation was about can you trust anything that Israel says? And he literally, it was almost like if he was on card beforehand, he dropped the card, looked in the camera, went, there is absolutely nothing you can trust from those guys. When their mouths are moving, they are lying to you. And he was just legitimately just like, by the matter of fact, they speak nothing but lies. Here, I don't know. Did you guys see about the that's the due process? Where did I put it? Israeli lies. Here it is.
Meanwhile,
So-
just one last point about Israel.
Now I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't play the original video because it wouldn't let me take it out, but he has it on here.
The bodies. To their great credit, it was the New York Times that obtained the video that was taken by one of the slaughtered medics.
It's just for context what's going on here. They said the Israeli police said that they blew up these people, these medics, because they did not have their lights on, they did not have their emergency lights on, they weren't making any noise, and they were all terrorists. So they ended up killing them all, burying the ambulances with the bodies, and somebody was videoing it on their cell phone during the whole event. And they found when the people came in to dig their bodies up, they found the cell phone, and they found out, hey, these guys were just lying to us.
And you can hear him saying his last words, but you can also see very clearly the ambulances with their lights on, with their alarms on, their blinkers on, and the rescue workers dressed exactly how they should be, not even remotely approaching Israeli troops, and they just fired on them and killed them all. And here you can see it. This is the medic in the car who is filming, and you can see the ambulance in front of him exactly with the lights on. There's another one with the lights on, that's a fire truck, and then there's an ambulance. He's in an ambulance as well, filming. And they're driving along exactly like rescue workers should. There's another ambulance with its siren on. You hear people going to rescue people, to help people when they're injured, to take them to the hospital, to administer life-saving treatment and aid to them. These are some of the noblest work that you can do. And here you see them stopping at this side of the road where that car is with the people who were shot and killed. They were going to see if any of them were alive, to see if they needed medical assistance, if there were any survivors to be taken to the hospital.
Again, the story is they didn't have the lights on. That's what they told the media, they told the world. These guys didn't have lights on.
There was a guy on Timcast on Monday, Steve, and he tried to say that they didn't identify themselves.
Not approaching Israeli military.
All this other kind of stuff. It was I almost threw something at my computer the way this kid was.
You have to do violence in reality.
Just absolutely just genuinely
all their
Israel on this.
Getting out of their car to go to that van. And then there's the
Then they start
shooting.
opening fire at it. They just shoot them all up.
Huge numbers of bullets. Trey Yinks is a excellent war correspondent for Fox News. He reports from Israel. He often reports on missile attacks on Israel.
So the video was from 31st March. This is Fox News 6th April.
But he has also spoken up in defense of Palestinian journalists, saying, why are we not defending Palestinian journalists being killed by Israel constantly when we are journalists? We're supposed to stand up for journalists. And he's reported very honestly about a lot of the things that Israel is doing in Gaza in a way that almost no one else in corporate media is. And listen to this report that he produced for Fox News about this incident.
I'm shocked Fox even put it on.
Paramedics from the Palestine
Sure,
Red
this was on at
Crescent
like 2 in the
dig
morning.
through the earth of southern Gaza. They're recovering the bodies of their colleagues killed by Israeli forces. On March 23rd, first responders were dispatched to this area of Rafah. When they arrived, Israeli soldiers opened fire.
Health workers should never be a target, and yet we're here today digging up a mass grave of first responders and paramedics.
On March 31st, the IDF provided a statement to Fox News saying, quote, several vehicles were identified advancing suspiciously toward IDF troops without headlights or emergency signals. Video released 5 days later by the Palestine Red Crescent directly contradicts that statement. The IDF also claimed in the initial findings that 9 out of the 15 medics were operatives in Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Asked multiple times for evidence to support that claim, none was provided. Funerals were...
I mean, that is very straightforward. The IDF told Fox News repeatedly that this happened. This video that was obtained and filmed by one of the workers who was murdered, and that he was buried underground with a cell phone that was then discovered, contradicts everything Israel said. They then switched to,
But despite that, we have a tremendous military. That was a very small portion because we rebuilt the military during my first term, and we have great things happening with our military. We also essentially approved a budget which is in the facility. You'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion.
Did you see what he said before the 1 trillion? He looked at Bibi and goes, "You'll like this." What? Again.
Is in the facility. You'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion, and nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot.
I mean, why? Why you're like this? Is it because he's just sitting there, or like all that money's going to most favored nation? 5 months ago, that same guy said he was going to slash the military budget by half, 400 billion or something.
Remember, he's the peace president too.
Peace president.
He ran on being the peace president.
Well, and then Doge is always out there talking about how much money they saved. What did they just do with all that money they saved? They just threw it into the DOJ to get up to $1 trillion. Hey, no savings going on. It's just a whole rabbit thing. We're laundering money. We're moving money from here over to here. Ain't nothing been saved. It's a scam again. Just another scam.
And why? And that's why they allowed Donald Trump, I'll keep saying this, to be president. That's why they allowed him to win in 2024, because they knew that there would be an entire cheering section ready for him and everything he did. So it's coming to fruition at this point. And the amount of people within the Catholic space who cannot get enough of saying how amazing he is and will not question anything he does is kind of getting ridiculous at this point. It's getting
John, how much you kept up with the El Salvador prison thing? Have you been up to date on that?
I mean, I at least saw that it happened, and then there was some sort of legal battle about it, but that's about all I heard.
Here's one. Well, here's another one from anti-war. Trump says arrest of green card holder for pro-Palestine activism is first of many to come. Khalil is married to an American citizen, has not been charged with a crime. That was today, about 5 hours ago, that this came out. A recent Colombia, he's talking about Mohammed Khalil, which was the big thing in Colombia a couple weeks ago. Uh-huh. By the way, we're going to arrest anybody that does a Tesla, but the Epstein files are still out there.
Epstein file says what? Epstein file says what?
Yeah.
By the way, while you're looking through this, we didn't have a story about this, but Kash Patel, who was given the reins of the ATF, he's the current FBI director. He was actually removed from that post because he didn't go to the ATF office in a month. He just completely ignored it, which on the surface I'm kind of okay with. But it's also a reflection of how this entire administration is a reflection of Trump. It's flashy. It gets a lot of headlines, not a lot of substance underneath. We don't have the video of it, but there's a video of Kristi Noem doing one of her law enforcement Barbie things where she's holding the rifle, and she's holding the rifle, and it's directly pointed at the guy next to her, at his head, and he's like, "This is crazy, lady. Please don't mistake me for a dog, because he's probably gonna get shot." But the fact of the matter is, it's so flashy, and it's just beyond ridiculous, and I'm getting tired of it. I really am getting tired of it because it's nothing is getting done. Like you're saying, Steve, nothing is getting done. Nothing's getting taken care of because we're too busy taking photos and we're too busy doing all this other kind of nonsensical stuff.
I'm going to correct you right
instead
there,
of
young Squire, because something has been getting done. We're getting our water back.
Sorry. Go with the water one. Go with the water one. Hit the wrong button. I want to hear Trump talk about it.
we're making our showers, from the Berry years. The shower
Get the water back so I can take a big beautiful shower.
In my gold bathtub.
John, you've seen this one a couple times. We were doing these, and we'll talk about the W's, the wins. Like, hey, we're getting the
Are you
plastic
tired of
straws
it? Are you
back.
tired of winning?
What was that?
Are you tired of winning?
Yeah, we're tired of winning. All this stuff. You get these W's over here, like that. Hey, all right, yeah, we like the shower pressure. Yes. How many of y'all have been not getting any sleep at night because you're worried about the water pressure in your shower? Just little things like even the plastic straw day. I haven't used a straw really.
I have a kind of a crazy thing about guys who drink out of straws, but
it's almost like who cares in a sense. Now, what did we talk about before with that EO?
Which one?
There's
been about 150,000.
There's 4,000 EOs. Forgive me. The anti-Semitism EO.
Yeah.
Did we not say that they were going to come after you?
Mm-hmm. Because
here's DJT in his own dad blasted words talking about imprisoning American citizens.
Would be willing to take American citizens in the federal prison population? Is that one of the ideas that are going to be discussed?
Well, I love that. If we could take some of our 20-time wise guys that push people into subways and that hit people over the back of the head and that purposely run people over in cars, if he would take them, I'd be honored to give them. I don't know what the law says on that, but I can't imagine the law would say anything different. If they can house these horrible criminals for a lot less money than it costs us, I'm all for it. But I'd only do according to the law. But I have suggested that, why should it stop just at people that cross the border illegally? We have some horrible criminals, American grown and born. And if we have somebody that bops an old woman over the head, if we have somebody that is in jail 20 times and goes back and shoots people all over the place and then has a bad judge or a bad prosecutor that do nothing about him, all they worry about is politics and don't worry about that. I think if we could get El Salvador or somebody
discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have broken our nation's laws repeatedly, and these are violent repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said if it's legal, right, if there is a legal pathway to do that, he's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of transparency. Reagan. Thank you.
Yeah, guys, if you're having a little problem with streaming, sometimes it might not be you. Steve's computer tends to be a little overworked, so sometimes the video
it's not like I'm watching like, wow.
Steve's computer is begging. Steve's computer is begging for some help right now, just a little bit. But yes, the fact is also, Steve, like you said, now they're starting to apply that to Chinese students. Now, listen, I'm not a huge fan of the Chinese. I'm not. But the fact is, they're like, take all the Chinese students out of the university, strip them of their visas, and send them home. And it's like, yikes. I know even Xi Jinping's daughter is at Harvard right now or something like that. And that's what first it's the Palestinians or the anti-Jewish sentiment. Then it's the Chinese. How many steps, folks, how many dots do you need to connect before it's traditional Catholics or it's somebody you don't like? Or let's say we get through all 4 years of Trump and it doesn't happen. And then President BBL shows up and uses, what do we say? The precedent of Donald Trump stripping people's rights and sending them somewhere else. And then she gets to do whatever she wants. And you can't go to the courts. First of all, the courts don't like you, as you're seeing with some of these injunctions. And secondly, they'll just lean on judicial precedent or past precedent. And everything you cheerlead Donald Trump for right now, you would literally be losing brain cells over Joe Biden doing at the exact same time. And the fact that we cannot even be intellectually honest enough to say that. We can't, because our team has the ball right now and we're going to run it down your throat and, you're going to take it. And conservatives are going to be in power for the next 10 years because of MAGA, even though we just lost a special election in Pennsylvania at the beginning of the month, and then you just lost the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, despite Scott Pressler being there last week. Those were both Democratic races. You lost like 2 or 3 months into Donald Trump's presidency. They're too like, oh, we're going to be talking forever, and J.D. Vance is going to win, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, guys, you realize that nothing lasts forever in politics. And everything, you guys, they're acting exactly like Democrats acted, Steve and John, after Obama got elected in 2008. They thought that Republicans were going to turn into regional parties, and it was just going to be the Democratic Party for here on out. And they're doing the exact same thing now, and it's going to lead us to awful, awful situations, 2029, 2030, 2034, whenever it is. Of course, that's if we get past 2030 with Our Lady of Fatima, but, you know, that's a different story for a different time.
That's a really good point, actually, that cockiness, that hubris usually leads to a great fall. And I mean, it's about the oldest thing in literature, you know, but that's so much so that it's got a Greek word that's coming straight into English about it. But the only other thing I was thinking about as you guys were describing that mess is, again, like I know it may sound like I'm just kind of nitpicking on words, but I noticed they said alleged criminals that were deported to El Salvador. What in the world? What? So folks that are, some of these folks, even American citizens, don't get to stand trial now?
They've already done that. There's no due process. They've actually said, what's his face, the new guy with ICE, they did due process. No. So because of one person being killed, bad thing, yes, terrible thing. None of these guys. They actually, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about it. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. Trump admitted that
that's something we warned about when he invoked the Insurrection Act.
Yeah, they admitted they got somebody in prison down there that was wrongfully thrown in jail, husband, father, and quote, we can't do anything about it. We admit that was wrong. We did screw up. We can't do anything about it. That was a direct quote from the commander in freaking chief.
Oopsie. Yeah, sorry about that.
The bad thing is then it's, you know, it's hypocritical because he's sitting there telling that reporter, as long as it's according to what Rick needs to do the voice, but you know, only if it's according to the law. You know?
Well, it's all legal as long as it's got Trump's name on it. It's all legal.
And even that stuff that he was saying, those were all state problems. Those were all state crimes. That's nothing, but we're centralizing everything.
We're speed running it. We're speed running it because our guy's in office.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that with the FBI getting involved in the Tesla stuff.
Yeah.
I've been screaming, that's a local law enforcement issue, man.
Everything is now a centralized thing. You talk bad about these, well, you do anything. It's a federal crime. You blow your nose the wrong way. And maybe a sneeze lands on most favored nation on the map. That's anti-Semitic. You're going to jail.
Yep.
Everything is nationalized. I mean, Trump has been out there saying, I can do anything I want because of Article 2. I literally get his quote, I can do anything I want because of it. And then you have him a couple of weeks ago, they're saying that he thinks he's the mayor of 300 million people. God, and then just was it this thing that he had the other day? I mean, it was so, what was the thing? Oh, yeah, here's the.
You should work on, you should go out and put a bill in demanding, because the states are just an agent of the federal government of you. You had to demand paper ballots. You had to demand one.
Wrong. So wrong. It's the opposite. It's the federal government's the agent of the states, not the Fed. It's so bad. Everything is going to a 10-mile square. It's going to run everything like the Kremlin to USSR. We're like that junior stage of that. They're trying to. That whole thing about this, I think the SAVE Act. Hey,
I was about to say, the SAVE Act just got passed in the House today.
Just got passed, and everyone's upset. The main whole thing about, no Democrats passed it. And how many times we talked about this? The SAVE Act, the Real ID 2020, using the two-party illusion and the election to usher in digital IDs. This is from July 9th, 2024. Been talking about it almost once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, oh, no, we got to have that so we know who's voting. Because We never let a crisis go to waste. We can't have illegals vote. We have to know what's going on and who's doing it. So we have this digital thing, let you know you can't cheat anymore.
Which would
So
obviously
pretty
be a nice gateway to a social credit score through digital bank currency, through CBDC.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's not going to be Bitcoin, or it will be Bitcoin because we've established a Bitcoin reserve. Won't be CBDCs because Trump signed an order saying you can't call it CBDC, but it's just going to be used. It's going to be Bitcoin.
It's going to be worse. It'll just be worse than the CBDC. Now it's that. And, you know, just like we're fighting with China, who has the social credit system. And they actually upgraded it.
Yeah.
Just unveils guidelines to improve social credit.
Yeah, and the thing is, and we'll get to this. I just want to mention it now. We'll talk about it later. A lot of people that I love, people that I respect a lot, and that are very, you know, they took advantage of the volatility in the market this week to buy more crypto. A lot of people took it as an advantage to get into crypto for the first time because, you know, it was a great time because it was more affordable. And so now you have more people that are built into the system.
I like Daniel McAdams' post when Trump talked about, it's up 2,500 points. Never ever heard of that. Got to be a record, you know. And McAdams, that's like putting a boot on someone's neck and then taking credit for the increase in comfort when you remove that boot. These are really bizarre times we live in. The right has shown itself every bit as irrational as the left. The whole political system is unicornville. And again, you know, and then you have this one lady on Fox, what's her name, Judge Jeanine, saying the whole thing that you would have heard from Obama days. I don't really care about my 401k today. You know why? I believe in this man. I believe in what we are saying. Trust the plan.
No, I'm just sorry, guys. I'm just checking on the stream because it's a little choppy. So I apologize right now, folks, if we're choppy in and out. I don't know what the internet issues are, but just stick with it.
It could be this Thrawn Garland dying on that. It happens to the last break of Vagabond almost all the time.
You're muted.
Really?
If you're not muted, I don't know what button you hit.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
But yeah, well, while Steve figures that out, we'll just continue on. So, was that you? No, talk because I can hear you now. Yeah, you're good. You're back in.
Oh, well, the tariff thing. One of the things that no one's talking about, the tariffs, I'm surprised DJT Jr. was brought in on
the
this.
UN with this insane carbon tax.
Yes, what they're currently doing covertly is trying to pass an ocean carbon tax through something called the International Maritime Organization, which is another kind of UN body. And this is something that it slipped under my radar. So I've started sharing it with everyone I could, everyone I know in the different parts of the administration, because this is something the administration can stop, particularly the State Department can stop, but it's the kind of thing that's usually given to kind of a low-level functionary, and there's just so many bad things that the world does, and so many bad things, honestly, Biden did, that it's hard to keep track of all of them. So that's why I wanted to sound the alarm about this one, because if this were passed at the high end of what they're talking about, $150 a ton, that doubles the price of fuel for us, ocean fuel for, our tankers and this kind of thing, and container ships. And that makes everything in our economy more expensive, and it hurts America most of all. So I'm glad you're aware of it, because hopefully it spreads the word to others. Mike Lee, Senator, posted about this today. So, I'm glad people are on top of it now.
Well, Mike's a good friend. I mean, give us some of the high-level details of just how bad this would be and what it aims to do.
So people hear like $150 a ton. That doesn't sound that bad. But if you translate it to a gallon of gasoline, it's like $1.25 per gallon of gasoline. And it's actually even more for the kind of oil that we're using on container ships. So just imagine that every ship that's transporting across the ocean for us is doubling in fuel costs. Fuel cost is a huge component of other costs. This is why when oil prices go up, everything prices go up. Now, it's hard enough to keep oil prices low through profitable production, but this is deliberately trying to raise a new tax on us just because people don't want us to be using oil. That's one thing people need to realize when they hear the other side sometimes talk about, we want lower gasoline prices. That's not true. They actually want higher gasoline prices because that's the only thing that'll discourage people from using gasoline, or in this case, fuel oil.
Here's one of the links. Nations divided ahead of decisive week for shipping emissions. This was 5 days ago. Members of the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, are divided over whether to approve a carbon tax on international shipping ahead of the meeting on Monday to finalize emission reduction measures. I can go into more detail on that, but hey, who's in for carbon tax? Elon. This is great research right off the playbook on that stuff. We put up a couple weeks ago. I had that one, the graph from a long time ago. It was 2020 about the 2030 and 2050 shows the decrease on everything. This is straight out of that playbook.
Yep, and they're going to sell it as the way to keep prices down.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they're going to do it. As you just heard, the argument is it's going to be all for that kind of stuff. And they'll run out those things like inflation is down. They'll say other kinds of stuff, some other kinds of economic factors are down, and that thing, it'll be all right in these things. But they try it with one party, it doesn't work, and they just try it with the other party, and they just wrap it up differently. And all of a sudden, you get approval on it, and you say that it's working because this side's not supporting it. But a year ago at this time, Republicans would be against a carbon tax on anything. Now, it's American, Steve. It's very American to be in favor of a carbon tax. It's MAGA. Right after you buy your Tesla, and then you're in favor of carbon taxes. We didn't even talk about this either. But Pete Hegseth was in Panama this week. He was in the Panama Canal talking about how that's ours. It's ours. It's not the Chinese. It's ours, and we're going to take it back. So we all of these things are just continuing to move the way that whoever you want to say is behind it to in the direction they want. There is no slowing it down. You just however you want to paint.
I was hoping Jonathan would start singing with me. All I heard was Van Halen in my head. Panama.
Just you, Steve.
No, just me.
We want to hear your beautiful singing voice. That's it. That's why we come in. That's why we subscribe. Hey, right here. Boom. That's it. I'm joking. That's how we get the views, buddy.
There you go.
You got to start singing.
This stuff that pops my head. My wife looks at me and goes, "You're just what's wrong with you?" So that's how my brain works. I think I start singing. It's either that or bubble wrap from VeggieTales. One of the two's in my head.
Yeah. So, John, what do you think about just all of these things that Republicans used to be against? Have now we've just done a complete 180 on, and now we're in support of.
I mean, I think the only hope is that a few other start speaking a little bit more strongly. Like I got to say, out of all of them, it sounds to me like Tucker's still the only one that's daring to voice a little bit of dissent about especially about the Gaza-Israel issues. It's just that the problem is, I feel like even if there's tuned out, there's too much other noise, and there's not enough time to think. If you're following every latest thing, then there's never time for the brain to think, wait a minute, I wasn't for this a month ago. You just because something new's coming in, and you just don't have time to think about the self-contradiction. So I don't know. I mean, since I guess there's probably no hope on the side of converting all of that side to sanity, really it's just going to be that personal conversion where you get people to say, all right, just slow down. Think about where a year ago. Were you cheering for the exact opposite a year ago? And I mean, if they end up flipping that easily, then I think there's a little beyond prayer at that point.
Was it everything goes in so fast? You look at like Charlie with his Kirk, and he's back to cheerleading. Well, a couple of days ago, he was actually talking about, hey, this is not good about this the $1 trillion going to the DOJ, but it goes so fast. That's probably about 1,000 posts ago now, even though that was a couple of days ago for him. You gotta scroll back for 15 minutes just to find that. Was it the Benny? What's his face? The other I can't remember what doctor. Is this you? 4 years ago, he's talking about how bad how the tariffs are for people, and then this year,
the stock market thing. Like when the stock market crashed, there was a little bit of a crash. He was like, "It's Black Monday, and people's retirements are going out the window." And then this Monday, he's like, "Guys, it builds character to lose money. It's okay. Just it's good." I mean, I'm not getting paid by the Trump sycophantic circle. When I lose money, I lose money. You go out there, they parade you out, and they put some Trump gold bars in your pocket, and all of a sudden you're dancing for your dinner over there. It's pathetic.
It's nuts. The courts actually ruled in favor of due process. Gilbert picked up on this.
It's an entirely different matter to throw somebody into a El Salvadoran prison for life. And if you are of the position like, I don't care, I'm more than willing to see completely innocent people, not just innocent in the sense that, they did was cross the border illegally, which I don't think that merits life in prison in El Salvador, but maybe you do. But innocent people who entered the United States the right way, who sought legal asylum in a legal port of entry, clearly fleeing persecution, and you're going to say, I don't care if those innocent people spend life in prison in a dungeon in El Salvador. I'm sorry, but that is a failure of humanity. It's almost sociopathic not to care about that. That's the question that was brought to the Supreme Court. The government appealed the restraining order, the injunction issued by Judge Boasberg, and the court issued its ruling yesterday. You see the caption, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, versus JGG, which is one of the people who applied to vacate the injunction issued by Boasberg. So let me just explain something. This has been reported as a huge victory for Donald Trump. Conservatives were celebrating, the Supreme Court ruled that Trump's deportations can go ahead. It was a 5-4 ruling. In dissent were the 3 liberal judges, Kagan, Sotomayor, and Judge Jackson, and they were joined by Amy Coney Barrett, Trump. But here's the thing: the majority said we're vacating the injunction simply for procedural reasons. The ACLU sued in Washington, in Washington, D.C. That's where Judge Boasberg is, on the grounds that that's where the United States is, so that's where you're suing, because you're suing the United States. And the 5 justices on the Supreme Court said, no, that's the wrong place to sue. The only place you can bring a habeas corpus hearing, which is a judicial proceeding to say that you've been wrongfully detained. You can't bring it in Washington, D.C. If you're detained in Texas, you have to bring it in Texas. And so they basically said this was brought in the wrong court, so we're taking it away from Judge Boasberg, which obviously conservatives were happy about. They demonized Judge Boasberg, even though I'm just telling you, he's a very ordinary judge. There are left-wing judges in the federal judiciary, not many, but some. I mean, real left-wing. Like if you think Bill Clinton, people who work for legal aid or NGOs or left-wing activists, there are very few of those who get through the Senate. They're mostly corporate lawyers and prosecutors, even who the Democratic president select. But in any event, they took it away from Judge Boasberg, and what they said was, every time there's a detainee who's about to be deported, they have the right to sue the U.S. government and ask for a habeas corpus hearing in a federal court to require the government to present evidence of their guilt and for them to disprove the accusations. Now, no, this is not for every deportation. Deportations can continue as they always have. You just go to that DOJ court, the deportation court. All you have to prove is they're here illegally. You don't have to prove they committed a crime, they're bad people, nothing. Just that they entered illegally, they don't have legal authorization to stay in the U.S. The deportation court authorizes the deportation, and you send them back to their country of origin. This only applies to the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, which grants Trump immense power. And they believe, the government believes, that once that is invoked, Trump can send them anywhere, even to an El Salvador prison, and doesn't have to give them a hearing to contest the accusations against him, doesn't have to give this gay makeup artist an opportunity to go into court and say, I'm not a member of Tren de Aragua, I'm a gay makeup artist. They've misinterpreted my tattoos. Here, you can see them. I'll tell you exactly what they are. And there probably are some judges who won't care. Who'll just say, Trump administration can do whatever they want. But most human beings would not easily consign people to life imprisonment if they're innocent.
And you get the point. It goes on for a while, but hey, most people, I know plenty that are, hey, arrest them all, throw them into jail, and throw the keys out.
Well, we said that earlier with the Chinese. They're like, take all the Chinese ones, just get rid of them, just get rid of all of them. I guess our pesos ran out because John's gone.
Yeah, he was listening in. I don't know what I just texted him. Did you get booted? Anyways, yes, and due process is a good thing. We are a law of due process. We are supposed to be built on due process, but apparently, man, because of Trump, man, forget about it.
Yeah, well, it's only due process is only good when we demand it. Like when it personally impacts us, Steve. If it's for the greater MAGA good, then who cares? Due process can get thrown out the window. And you should be sick of both parties, because the system that we're supposed to live under is not a two-party system. Say whatever you want about Washington. Washington warned against two parties. Say whatever you want. He was right about that. He's like, don't have party systems. It's not a good idea. It's not how this whole thing is supposed to be set up. But
two-party illusion. Yeah,
the two-party illusion. The uni-party is, and that's why we were talking about, he was saying, somebody, I think you were saying, or John was saying, if somebody says something bad on the right now about Jews or whatever, there is almost like a hit squad that's ready to just descend on that person, to just put them in their place. There's as much gatekeeping and cancel culture on the right. And it's not the woke right. It's just factions that are put there to make sure that the narrative stays consistent. And that's why the podcasters are so that's why your podcasters in this space, and I listen, like Tim Pool or Crowder, all these guys, they have a certain set of things they can talk about and not talk about, because they have that allows them to gatekeep people like Steve or myself. And we're very happy that we have almost 200 people watching from getting a voice in, because what Steve and I have to say is not very popular. It's definitely not popular, and it doesn't get us invited to anything. Not that Steve would ever go, but the fact is, I wouldn't either, folks, because I'm broke. But the fact is that there is such the crazy thing is, people don't even realize the legacy media gatekeep, and they had talking points and they use them. What you have now is they've established this hierarchy where talking points are laid out. Everybody has their own version of talking points, and then they come around and they all say the exact same thing. Maybe once in a while, like a Jason Whitlock will say something a little, that's not, according to the narrative, or they'll say something here, there, but most of the time they're all pretty much saying the exact same thing, just, differently one way or another. They'll change a the to an a or a but to make it seem like it's their own point of view. And that's why they go so hard on somebody like Thomas Massey. If Thomas Massey votes against the continuing resolution, Steve, Thomas Massey needs to get primaried. He's not for MAGA, blah, blah, blah. It's like, shut up. Thomas Massey's actually representing his district.
Right.
That's what he's doing.
Rand Paul's saying Trump shouldn't be imposing tariffs because he doesn't have that authority. But yet he can if he declares an emergency just out of the blue. He just pulls it out as, hey, we got an emergency.
I was watching one of these shows that I was just making fun of, and somebody said, Congress actually has the authority to do that. And somebody else went, really? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All power, all spending power, all monetary power is supposed to originate in Congress, because Congress, if you look, it's the first article because it's supposed to be the most important branch. Not Article 2, like Trump is saying, writes him a blank check to do whatever he wants. Article 2 is supposed to be subservient to Article 1.
He can get away with it because the people are letting him get away with it. All his cheerleading fans or the guys up in Congress who are love him and just can't, or terrified of him or something, let him get away with basically murder in a sense. Just do whatever you want, and they won't say anything back. I stick to the Constitution. People are now, forget about it. If Kamala would have came out and said, I'm for taking some people and maybe I'll just throw them in jail in El Salvador. You telling me that all these people out here that are on his side wouldn't go nuts on that? I mean, forget Brandon. Imagine Kamala, heels up Harris. Imagine her saying that on the plane. Oh yeah, we'll throw some Americans in the El Salvador prison. Oh, whatever. Yeah.
Well, remember when they were going after J6ers, how it was the biggest crime on the planet. Due process, what happened to them? And yes, I'm not saying it was right. But now you have almost an inversion of that, and the left and the right is cheering it on with their American flags and everything.
Wait till the other guys get back in. Oh, you thought Brandon was
BBL. Watch out for President BBL or President Jasmine Crockett. Watch out for President Crockett.
Man, we ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till the other team gets in. Oh, you're gonna be wishing for Brandon.
Brandon's gonna look like a moderate.
He's gonna begging, please, Lord, give me back, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Come on, please.
Please give me back, Brandon. I need him back in my life at this point. But it's just absolutely ridiculous how people are just they're foolish. They're just foolish. They think when they're in power, it's never gonna end.
It's a cult.
It is a cult. It is 100% a cult. It's idolatry. Let's say what it is, Steve. It's not a cult. It's idolatry. It is idolatry to a president or to a party or to a movement that is not God. I mean, there's that video going around of that lady like painting Trump at a service, and people on the left are ashamed. People on the right should be calling out and be like, no, don't do that. You can't do that.
Oh, you got David getting his hands sprayed on and all that stuff. I mean, Gilbert,
after Vivek called you fat and lazy and said that America is nothing more than an economic zone, Trump waved his little magic fairy dust on him, and now he's fine again. Now he's MAGA again. He's back. So we're gonna keep falling for it as long as we put our faith in secular systems and not where it should be. Where it should be, the church, God. That's your guiding light, not Trump, not Law and Bondi or Cash or Tom Homan or any of the other cabinet or RFK Jr. when he's doing pull-ups or any of these other kinds of things. All of that stuff is just noise. It's just noise at this point.
We can wait and see, but we can also get a lot of forecasts right now with Gilbert Doctorow joining us here on RT.
Gilbert's great if you haven't read him.
International affairs analyst. Mr. Doctorow, a big fan of your work. I've been seeing you on all these different YouTube channels and news channels around the world for such a long time now. You really are very much on the front line of today's worldwide information wars. It's so good. The information wars, I should say. It's so good to get you here on RT International. So in advance, I thank you for your time. And I know you just heard the report between myself and Umayma Ishar as we're waiting to go live on air. Netanyahu, an administration in the White House suggesting some kind of operation against Iran. But what's striking is he proposed a so-called Libya scenario for Iran. We all know what happened to Libya. Mr. Doctorow, could you give us your thought? What kind of lessons should Tehran take away from the rhetoric we're hearing right now?
Well, I think they've done a very good job of interpreting the foreign policy actions of Mr. Trump. They understood that he works by bullying. The Supreme Leader called that out, said that Iran would not submit to American bullying, and that discussion of taking down its missile program or its support for the axis of resistance would not be subjects for discussion. They were non-negotiable. But they would talk precisely about their nuclear program because they know very well that Mr. Trump has in his back pocket the reports of American intelligence community, which has said since 2007, year after year, that Iran most recently reconfirms that Iran does not have an active nuclear weapon program. So under these conditions, it is conceivable that Mr. Trump will claim victory if essentially he succeeds in declaring the Iranians are doing what they otherwise had been doing, not building a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point there. And meantime, as you say, the U.S. intel community is saying Iran for a number of years now has not been trying to develop a nuclear weapon. Netanyahu still calls Iran a nuclear threat, Mr. Doctorow. But isn't Israel itself in possession already of nuclear weapons as it is?
Well, of course, it's the height of hypocrisy. It's a very poorly guarded secret that Israel is a nuclear power. I think that even the BBC this morning, in remarking on the visit of Netanyahu to the Oval Office, said that he was disappointed and slightly surprised by what Donald Trump had to tell him, namely that the United States is expecting this Saturday to have, direct talks with Iran in Oman. The Iranians denied that they would be direct, but that's a subtlety. The main point is that they're talking and they are not about to bomb Iran. There's been a lot of bluster, but that is the nature of Mr. Trump.
Yeah, you have a whole bunch of Spirit stealth bombers to the Chagos Islands. These are big bunker buster bomb carrying aircraft. The Chagos Islands, not that far away from Iran. Meantime, we understand Tehran saying that their deep mountain missile silos are all activated on alert. I mean, some people saying we do seem to be on the cusp of a conflict. Mr. Doctorow, what is the possibility Team Trump will walk away from the brink and allow diplomacy to play out?
Well, those weapon systems that are now in the Indian Ocean, within easy striking distance of Iran, they otherwise would be in striking distance of Iran if they have show and plumage by Mr. Trump and his group, which doesn't change the fact the United States can at any time unleash devastating bombing attacks on a country like Iran.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it is also possible to consider, I think more likely, the intention is to use these weapon systems against the Houthis. It's much easier to attack a small by major powers. This is a distinction that we have to make when speaking about Iran. Unlike Libya, which had the whole Western world against it, Iran has two major colleagues and close cooperation partners. They are Russia and China. That is a vast difference. The terms of the Russian Comprehensive Cooperation Agreement concluded with Iran, signed in January, does not contain within it provisions for mutual defense.
Right.
But nonetheless, close cooperation, the mutual drills, naval drills that they've had together with the Chinese as well, these are ongoing, and they cannot be ignored by Washington, particularly under the conditions of a very combative China.
Yeah.
How China has responded to these sanctions, to the tariffs, is indicative of how China will respond to any bullying that is implemented, not just jawboned, by Washington with respect to Iran.
Yeah, that is a very intriguing comment there, Mr. Doctorow. What about your recent interview on Press TV? Gilbert, you said the U.S. may have plans to fight. If the United States goes rogue and attacks Iran, then I think all bets are off. You said we will see a response, definitely a military response from China, and something significant from...
Let's concentrate on China, because they are not in another war, as Russia is. Russia's attention is focused with all good reason on its dealings with Ukraine, where they're very close to victory, and they're not going to pull back, be distracted, and lose the concentration if they've enjoyed up till now. But China's a different case. China has already demonstrated a week ago by its exercises off the coast of Taiwan that it is prepared to introduce a complete blockade of Taiwan. They don't have to fire missiles. They can strangle Taiwan by imposing a no-fly zone over Taiwan and by interdiction of any naval vessels that are headed towards Taiwan. And very quickly, that would bring Taiwan to its knees. And so if a deterrent, this message that was made by the Chinese a week ago in these naval exercises, but unlike Russia, I think the Chinese are ready, if not just to take measures to forestall an American attack on Iran, but to take measures after such an attack takes place. I say they can bring Taiwan to its knees and end the question that the United States has made foremost in its relations with China. What happens to Taiwan?
Yeah, that's a good point there. Well, let's go from China and Taiwan back to China and Iran, if possible. Some people say, Mr. Doctorow, that the sanctions on Iran are also sanctions on China. China buys so much energy from Iran. It's heavily invested in the Iranian economy. Meantime, if something breaks out in that part of the world, talk to me about an oil crisis. The US dollar, the primary currency in oil trade, Iran being a massive oil producer.
I understand properly, about 75% of Iran's oil exports are going to one country, China. As regards China, it is importing 30% of its oil needs from Iran. So the cooperation there in hydrocarbons is very, very tight. If the United States were to attack, Tehran has made it clear that they will close the Straits of Hormuz, and that will cut off the supply of Arab Gulf oil to the world. There will be an enormous crisis. There will be a devastating impact on the global economy. And that is a price to pay that I think Mr. Trump cannot consider now, when he's already in the middle of dealing with the consequences of his tsunami of tariffs.
Yeah.
So Gilbert, if you find his blog, it's fantastic, and he's only on those shows like RT and a couple others overseas. So if you go on Odyssey, you'll find more of him. But the dude knows his stuff, and you're not going to see that info on Fox, CNN, MSNBC, any of that. I mean, how many of you guys thought about China being part of all this, or all the other things that were going down, it says with the tariffs? I mean, I didn't even know about the speedboats with missiles. I mean, where did that come from?
Right. Yeah. The fact that all of this is just laying the groundwork for some pretty awful things.
Forget about the Dow this week if that goes down.
Yeah. I mean, well, the yuan or whatever the Chinese currency is dropping precipitously as a result of tariffs. And a guy I greatly respect, a guy named Tactical Wisdom on Twitter, said, he goes, what usually happens when nations' dollars crash? Just ask, what is the usual response when a country's economy collapses or is on the verge of collapse? What do they usually do? What is a usual response to that? And yeah, I mean, especially since there are reports that Xi is on a very he's on a razor's edge in that country anyway, because of what's going on with a lot of that
See,
stuff.
North Korea, they apparently tested a nuke underground and nobody knew about it.
They've been doing that for a while. I mean, they've been testing out, maybe not a full blown one, but they've been doing a lot of tests because they have a lot of mountainous regions, and they do them up in those mountainous regions because it's hard to tell if it's like an earthquake or if it's an actual one. So now they're getting a little bit more bellicose, a little bit more bellicose by doing it in places where you can actually see it. And the fact of the matter is, when you think of a place like North Korea, the South Koreans, if these United States are not there, even with the United States presence there, they're not in a great position to defend themselves right now because they don't have a birth rate. Their birth rate is like point whatever. So, another wonderful effect of Western civilization, Steve. Western civilization in its full glory. You're plummeting birth rates. But the fact that these United States are moving long-range bombers to like Diego Garcia and to these other places. I mean, they have 2 carrier groups that are moving into the Persian Gulf. They're just doing all these other kinds of things to set up what the Warhawks have just did. As we've talked about, and you played the clip, right? Iran has the gall of putting themselves around all our, in the middle of all our military bases. And, did you know that the Taliban is giving back Bagram Air Force Base to the United States? They're giving Bagram Air Force Base back to the United States. Where is Bagram close to? It's close to China, and it's also a nice runway straight to, that's right, Iran. And the Taliban, remember, the Taliban is the reason for the stupid Patriot Act. And now we're buddies with them.
If you don't buy a Tesla, you're part of the Taliban.
If you buy it, you are now, because we're literally locking arms with the freaking Taliban.
Well, they used to be on Rocky. I mean, not Rocky, Rambo. I mean, we were good friends with the Taliban when they were with Russia. No, it's and they were talking about the art of the deal thing. If Trump goes in Saturday or says anything stupid before then, saying that Iran better do this or we're going to bomb them, which he pretty much said the other day too. He did say, I'm sorry.
He's been saying it for a while.
He's got to come through. You can't make those statements and then not bomb them. I mean, you threatened somebody and you're the Mr. Heard the Deal guy. If then, well, you got to come back with your then. And if he puts that then, we're going to nuke you. Well, I mean, it's what does he do? I mean, he has not telling it, not for that. No, terrible. But he has to do that now because he pretty much told the world,
we're doing it.
If you don't do this, I'm going to do that. Now, if he doesn't do that, he's going to look soft or whatever. And he's like, no one's going to buy him on, because all these 4D chess people were out there saying, it's the art of the deal. Look at him make these moves. That's why all these countries came back and took away the tariffs. And that's why because that's the art of the deal. Well, your art of the deal is going to start World War VIII and nuke half the planet because he's on this rogue idea. If I'm going to be the bull, as you said, bully, if you don't do this, I'm going to bomb you. He can't do that and get away with it.
Especially when he's put a lot of these countries in economic peril where they don't have any other choice but to respond negatively, Steve, because they're already getting beaten pillar to post with tariffs or whatever the case may be. You threaten them economically and then you threaten them militarily. Now you've given the leader of that country 2 reasons to go to the people and be like, hey, it's my job to protect you. I can't let this guy run roughshod over our country or whatever. So we have to, in the interest of our own self-defense, act. And it's absolutely ludicrous that we think that, by the way, folks, the war in Ukraine hasn't wrapped up. So there's still fighting and bombing and death and murder and all that stuff happening over there. So it really will be a full world conflict. There will be conflict everywhere. And they're going to send your sons and daughters to go fight and die for all of this. Yeah. And there's sources that are saying the Chinese are about to take Taiwan in the next 6 months. So
that's been a hot thing for months.
And now they're just saying, yeah, they're gonna do it. If China is pushed to the point of economic collapse, what do they have to lose by going after Taiwan?
Who voted for the winning? Who too much winning? Is bombing now? Is winning now bombing? Too much winning going on.
Yeah. And the thing is, folks, just remember, all of these actions from a Catholic perspective, unjust war. Complete and total unjust war. So remember that the next time your Catholic influencer, whoever it is, on X right now during that clip, I was kind of listening to both. Pints with Aquinas had this priest on who said, God save Trump.
They're all
okay. My response every time that is like, so God didn't care that the other guy took a bullet in the head and died. If he was interested in saving.
Oh yeah, the miracle, the first class miracle. Yeah, the WWF thing. I mean, we've already gone so far past that.
Yeah,
there's a few people asking about it now. I saw a few people ask, "Hey, was this really legit? Was it?" Because I mean, come on. I mean, Evander Holyfield's ear still hasn't been healed, but he's fine. He's got mutant Wolverine powers.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, why not?
But when that happened, remember when I said that? When that happened, over. That thing was, you got up just like you made a big catch. Get up and do that. It's over. It's just, the thing that was done. It was just the great line from one of the Celtics guys from the 80s. The refrigerator door's closed, the lights are off, the butter is getting cold, and the jello is jiggling.
Yep.
That thing was over. But yeah, no, I mean, on the good side,
Garcia had legislation in the Florida Senate to ban geoengineering and weather modification in the state of Florida. I support the legislation. However, the Florida House of Representatives has gutted Senator Garcia's legislation, and they would actually codify the practice of geoengineering and weather modification. People got a lot of kooky ideas that they can get in and put things in the atmosphere to block the sun and save us from climate change. We're not playing that game in Florida. I support what Senator Garcia is doing, and I hope that people will tell the House of Representatives in Florida, do not gut this.
Gotta look at see about looking up for housing in Florida pretty soon.
Yeah,
hey,
right. I wonder how much I can get for this house before I move to Florida. Because
this week was 80 last weekend, 90, almost 90. I'm sorry, 88, 89 last weekend here. Tuesday, frost came down. The Kentucky, Virginia, up north, they were in the 20s. And it mentioned as Dane Witterbrang, I can't think of his last name, Dane, who's the geoengineering guy. These happen because of all that stuff. You get the ups and downs. And it does what? Being now that I got into gardening, I had to go out there and put frost cover on all my stuff just in case, because it kills all the food production. And if you're a gigantic farmer in a sense, you can't do that in that split of a second. You prepare for the big stuff, but then like all the peach trees, you can't cover acres of peach trees. And every time this always happens, everyone who has a bunch of peach trees goes, yeah, peaches are done for this year because all the buds just got frozen. There's a direct attack on the food supply every time. And they're doing it real time. And at least thank you, DeSantis, for saying all that, because if anybody else, if I go out and make a video, oh, you're a cuckoo. Well, the states are now talking about it.
Yep, they are. And, as soon as they banish and abolish property taxes in Florida, it'll be the new land grab movement. They're going to have to change Florida's nickname to the Sooner State because I can't get there soon enough. But the fact is,
what happened with what will help in the housing crash that's coming on? Did you see that about? I'm looking forward to the thing, not that one. Student loans. Remember we talked about this?
Borrowers had about 3.5 years in which they did not need to make federal student loan payments. On top of that, there was one more year in which the consequences of not making your monthly bills were not as severe. That has now changed. It's now been enough time that people are really facing these risks of default and potentially, on the way, delinquency and your credit score going down. And that's very serious.
Yeah, let's talk about that credit score piece of it. So how and why does the credit score?
The reason about the credit score is Nick. Follow Nick if you can. He's on Reventure app. I watch his shows a lot on the housing, obviously, because I'm reading and looking to maybe somewhere before the end times, grab a house. The New York Fed is estimating that 9 million borrowers are now in default on student loan payments. The credit scores could drop 75 to 150%, could have a big impact on housing market. Why? Because you can't buy a house now. And then we talked about this last year, that Trump will eventually, he will eventually cancel student loan debt to get the homes bought because it's going to be so bad in the housing markets. You're seeing it now. The 2008 crash is happening again, especially in Florida, Arizona,
Texas,
Tennessee, Texas, most of the Georgia,
all the southern states that got flooded during COVID.
Yes. And the only way to do that, if that's happened, is 90% of people with a student loan is defaulting on it. I mean, I pay student loans. I just started getting emails a couple months ago about it. I used to not get, all of a sudden it started coming. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Because they weren't sending it out because of the whole stop issue thing is we don't have the jump. Like, wait, you don't even remember the company you were at because they weren't even sending the bill, paper, mail, email, nothing was ever being sent. Now they started sending it off and people probably were just in their junk, not even thinking of it, forgot about it. Now 90% are in default. Credit scores go down, they won't be able to buy a darn thing. You will own nothing and be happy.
Well, the fact of the matter is, too, is that there is a problem in that boomers control 85 to 90% of the actual wealth right now because they're not retiring and all these other things. So millennials, Gen Xers, nobody has a chance to get into positions to actually acquire any or even get a chance to get a position to make money to pay student loans, to pay these things, because they were told go to college. Now I'm not caping up for people who go to college. I'm just saying they were told go to college, get a degree, and then you'll be able to get a job that'll pay you and blah blah blah. Of course, these people go to college and they get like basket weaving for minors or whatever the case is. That's their fault. They got a crappy degree. I'm not caping up for them, but they were told to go away from trades. They were told to invest their money in these places. And it's kind of funny during the beginning of the week when the stock market, and it's still in flux, but when it was taking that ride, you had Gen Xers and millennials and Gen Zers looking at boomers and being like, I don't care that you're losing your money because you have kept it for yourself. And it goes to all these other things. This is just a remark on the economy, guys. I'm not saying it's a good thing. Luxury items like Harley Davidson's step down because that company's in free fall. Of course, it's because of terrible marketing and they put all their money into baby boomers and they didn't know how to adapt. But people don't have money for luxury items. Gen X, baby, these upcoming groups don't have money for those luxury items. Those actually impact jobs and all these things down the line. That's why I'm mentioning it. When you buy a motorcycle, you have to get it fixed and there's the salesman, or you buy a boat, then you got the harbor master and all these other kinds of things. The entire economy is based on big ticket luxury items that have to be bought. And when you don't have the wealth to do it, the income to do it, that is a ripple effect that Steve's talking about in the economy. Like, you don't have money to buy a house. If you don't have money to buy a house, then you can't buy, washer and dryer and a dishwasher or this other thing, or pay a guy to mow your lawn or whatever the case may be. See how it actually just like it ripples out. It's the stone in the pond because people are falling behind, and we're never gonna unless there is an actual reset, not a great reset, but an actual reset. You'll never undo the damage that was caused by the 2 weeks to flatten the curve. You'll never get out from under.
That's what they talk about. This was the great deal. Is that what they're calling it? The play on FDR, which he's acting like an FDR. He's acting like a Lincoln. He's acting like all those guys who you prop up and say greatest ever when they they locked up normal people.
He admits his favorite president's Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
His favorite president's Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
He acts a lot like him.
Well, yep. They tried to invade South Carolina. We told them to go pound sand.
That's right. But yeah, so that's what you're looking for in that regard. It's not very good, but that's okay because I think I know how we're gonna save the economy, Steve. We're just gonna make dire wolves, and everybody's gonna buy them.
The howl of a dire wolf hasn't been heard on planet Earth for more than 10,000 years.
I want one.
That's because the species is extinct, or was. Colossal Biosciences is a Dallas-based company that's using genetic engineering to de-extinct long-gone species. And this is the first time Colossal's dire wolf pups, who are now 6 months old, have been seen by the public.
So remember they were talking, what was it last year they were talking about bringing back the woolly mammoth?
Yep. They always keep talking about bringing back different ones, and now we do. So hey, can we just clone a T-Rex so I can hunt it?
There is a T-Rex. It's that chicken in the back.
Yeah. I want the big. I want the big one. I want one running around the fields of Texas.
They're coming out with they're coming out with a new Jurassic Park apparently, and what's the girl that
Scarlett
Johansson?
Yeah.
She mentioned that says something about we're going to bring the fear back into the movie.
Yeah, it's scary to go to them anyway. So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, they were pretty bad. Yeah, genetic, and you know what technology they use, Steve? They use that good old CRISPR technology to redo it, and it's absolutely nuts. So this lady still is bringing her baby to the house floor to tell about how she can't bring her baby to the house floor. Can we just stop with this nonsense? Retire. Go away. You're a mom. Go be a mom. It's that simple. Just go away. Just get out of here. Be gone. Be gone. Be gone. Get out. Leave. But yeah, that's pretty terrible in that regard too. We got anything else to catch up on?
All right. We could be on for another half hour with a couple of things I have. So
you don't want to speed through them?
Nah, that's too long. I mean, it's just we hit the big ones already.
Okay, we got everything that Bibi, dire wolves, all that. Okay. Yeah. All right. So my my cry room is let me see. I just talked about this on my show today. Mattel has announced that they are having a LeBron James Ken doll that will be released on April 14th for $75. You know, you can insert your Barbie jokes about Ken's anatomy and LeBron James in the same sentence if you like to. But it's just another just ridiculous thing that this dude doesn't say, you know, anything for anything. Brian's already got 3 of them on order. He's gonna get 3 of them for his kids. So that's my cry room is LeBron James and his silly little Ken doll. That it's just like, dude, stop it. Just play basketball, man, or just go away. And my Saint of the Week, the trailer for the final Mission Impossible movie. I think it's the final Mission Impossible movie came out, and it looks really good. It looks really, really good. So
I'll watch it.
Yeah. You know, I give him credit for, you know, at least trying to continue to make films when everybody else is just like, whatever, just make it an AI or whatever. You know, he's at least.
Did you see that Superman AI where he's like holding a puppy and all that?
I mean, the AI is getting ridiculous. It's going to take over films in at least within 5 years. Honorary mention. I know it's a little old, but I just finished Person of Interest, and so amazing show, absolutely amazing show. Good ending. Good ending. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of them actually. After the middle of season 3, all the way down, there's a bunch of haymakers that show throws at you, and I'll watch it again. I enjoyed it really. I really did enjoy it.
Right, so. Just because Jonathan was on, he said he couldn't get back on it. We'll let him on. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. We watch. She's watching Elementary.
With Lucy Liu,
modern first play on Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, and she goes, "Who's that? Who's that remind you of?" He looks like Jonathan's doppelganger is the main character of that movie.
He is smart enough.
I can't not see it anymore.
Yeah, he's all smart. He's smart enough. So yeah, he could have
my cry room. I got a couple. First off, you people in Colorado. Colorado House Democrats just passed a bill that makes misgendering a discriminatory act and can take children away from parents who misgender and pushes all schools to promote trans ideology. Again, there's some nutty people in the state of Colorado, especially Denver area. You want to get people to take this stuff over? I saw Scott Hans running for mayor in Steubenville. That's the idea. Get people involved. Run for mayor, run for state house, run for governor. Get some sane people in there, run for your state house, and things will come. It's part of my saying today is the opposite of this. You can change it if you get involved. My other cry room is I hate to do it, but Patrick Madrid posted a thing, blasted, kind of give a little critique about Southerners and on Appomattox Day, and I responded to him, telling him just, hey, full disclosure, hey, I'm not popping it. I'm just correcting you. It wasn't about slavery. It was not about slavery. It was this and this. And check out this. I thought it was charitable. The dude blocked me over it. And then I asked him on my Census Fidelity one, hey man, why? I didn't mean any by that. I just friendly fraternal correction in a sense. Just wanted to, give you that info. And hey, I can get this guy to send you this book for free, no strings attached. I wrote that in his email. Because he told me, email me and I'll tell you why. Well, it's been 48 hours. I ain't heard an email back. Okay. No idea. But apparently that just ticks people off if you say anything about that, because
don't mess up the narrative, Steve.
Here's a great post. My ancestors used to use their white privilege to pick their own dang cotton. Not contrary to popular opinion. Not everybody owned slaves.
Nope.
And William Shatner had a great line defending Dixie. Traitors, losers, just were not on the winning side of history. They believed they were right. And what did the statue ever do to you? Talking about they're tearing down a Statue of Lee. So good on him, because what's his face? Brian McClanahan goes, maybe I'll start watching Star Trek right now.
Right? Yeah. Good old. I mean, he's like 90 at this point. He has no reason to hold back. He has no reason to hold back at this point. So
I forgot my city of Belmont decided to keep fluoride in the water. I had no idea that was going on a couple days ago, and apparently it didn't care, because they said a bunch of people came to oppose it and they just did not care. And before anybody says, Steve, why don't you just run for city? I rent, and I didn't live in this city a year ago, and I might not be here in 5 months. So it's hard to run for a city council or something like mayor and you not live in that same area in a year or something, So I would love to eventually, wherever I settle down out, to do that. And Republicans here in North Kakalaki introduced bill to impose more restrictive abortion ban here. So you can, again, act locally, think locally, and get back to the States. And the winner of the day is... It's
Governor Tate Reeves signed House Bill 1 into law, eliminating the state's individual income tax. 12 News' Cameron Smith has the latest details on this historic tax overhaul bill.
No running reds.
Lawmakers in the House and the Senate stood on the steps of the governor's mansion as they watched the governor sign House Bill 1 into law.
House Bill 1 is now law.
Mississippi. Love it. Love it.
There's 10 states now that have taken out the state income tax. More will come.
Yep.
Yay.
Absolutely. It's the right way. You can't rob people of their wealth through taxation. You got to stop doing it. That's why, and that's another thing that's killing people. So good for the state of Mississippi. I agree with you on that. All right, folks. That is it for this episode of Rickcast. Please like, subscribe, and share the Rickcast. They're all Rickcast now. That's it for this week's episode of News from the Pew. Please like, subscribe, and share the news from the Pew. We will talk to you all next week, ladies and gentlemen, which will be Holy Thursday. That's right. So
maybe the week after. We might
take Holy Week off. I'm pretty sure we'll probably take Holy Week off. So I'm sure you guys can understand. God bless.